Did you know that even native English speakers sometimes don't get a high score in TOEFL speaking unless they prepare for it? Hi, my name is Jenna, and today I'll give you some tips that you can use to improve your TOEFL speaking score, especially for the independent question. Keep in mind that this is a more upgraded and detailed version of our previous video about the independent speaking section. First, make sure to place your mic at a certain distance from your mouth. If your mic gets too close to your mouth, like this, your voice can get muffled. And if the mic touches your mouth, it can be hard for the listener to understand some of your words. Instead, keep your mic at a distance so the listener can hear you loud and clear. Second, do not panic. I've noticed some people freeze when they have to start speaking, especially in the first question. The reason is that when you practice for the exam with a friend or alone, you're not able to experience the feeling of talking in front of a computer. So while it is important for you to practice speaking in your daily life, it is also very important that you familiarize yourself with the test environment by practicing in front of a computer. Third, your examples don't have to be real. The grader doesn't care whether the example you mentioned actually happened or not. So for the independent question, don't get stuck coming up with a real-life example. It's all about the arguments, the examples you come up with, and the logic behind them. So as long as your answer is logical and makes sense, and by making sense, I mean generally makes sense to people, not just you, you are good to go. Fourth, practice answering independent questions in your daily life. When I was preparing for my TOEFL exam, I used to make up random questions whenever I could think of one and try to answer them. For example, while choosing my lunch menu, I would make up a question such as, what would you prefer to eat for lunch, burger or tacos? Or while shopping, I would ask myself, if you had $50 to spend on your clothes, would you buy a sweatshirt or a pair of jeans? And then answer it. While you can be creative in your answers, always remember that in order to get a high score, your reason and argument must be logical and persuading. Fifth, note-taking. Make sure to write down keywords related to your answer. This can help you keep track of what you are trying to say. Let's take a look at a question.
If you were allowed to have a pet, would you choose to have one? What are the advantages and disadvantages of having a pet? Use reasons and examples to support your response.
So, I came up with one advantage and one disadvantage that I'm going to talk about in my answer. The advantage is that pets are your companion, and the disadvantage is that they have short lives. After jotting down my main points, I tried to write down some keywords that would help me explain my reasons in more detail. So for the advantage, I wrote down not lonely to explain that when you have a pet, you don't feel lonely, and a keyword US to remember the example that I'm gonna give. For the disadvantage, I wrote down very sad so I can explain that pets have short lives that can make you sad when you lose them. I also wrote down a keyword to remember the example that I'm gonna give for this. So based on the notes that I took, the answer would go like this. If I were allowed to have a pet, I would choose to have one. There are some advantages and disadvantages of having a pet. One of the advantages of having a pet is that they can be your companion. You never feel lonely when you have a pet at your home. For example, when I had to move to US for my studies, I was very sad and lonely because I had to live away from my parents. However, when I started raising a cat, I felt less lonely because she brought happiness to my life. However, pets also have disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is that they have short lives and don't live as long as humans do. Due to this, when they pass away, it can feel like you just lost a family member. For example, when I was young, I used to raise a pet dog. However, when it passed away, I was very sad and I couldn't even go to school for a week. If the question is too hard for you, you don't necessarily have to come up with two reasons. One is fine as long as you have enough details and explanations to answer for 45 seconds. Note-taking is an essential part of the TOEFL exam. While it is also important to take proper notes in the speaking section, there is one section where note-taking is the most important: listening. We have also prepared a video on how to take notes in the listening section, so if you're curious, go check out the video by clicking here. Many people feel that speaking is the hardest section of the TOEFL exam. Don't panic and try out the tests available at TOEFLBANK.com to familiarize yourself with taking the TOEFL, as the test environment is very similar to the real test. So this was the video on taking notes for the independent speaking question. Hope this video helped. I'll see you guys next time.